Welcome to today's Explainer. We are diving headfirst into a wildly fascinating what-if scenario about, let's be real, television's most iconic sitcom. Like, what if I told you that the final scene of that beloved show wasn't actually the end? We're going to explore the hypothetical, but honestly incredibly compelling idea of an 11th season. And no, we are not just talking about some nostalgic reunion or rehashing old jokes. We're looking at a real, grounded continuation of the story.
Just, imagine it for a second. Picture opening that iconic purple door one more time. You look inside, and the keys are still sitting right there on the counter. Downstairs, Central Perk is still serving coffee, the big orange couch is waiting, and somehow, against all odds, our 6 favorite New Yorkers find themselves together again. By the end of our time today, we're going to unpack the most realistic version of this continuation ever imagined and look at exactly why it could have completely changed the legacy of the whole show.
Section 1. The unfinished ending. What happens next?
Right, so when the series closed its final chapter back in 2004, the ending felt, well, incredibly complete. Let's do a super quick recap of where we actually left off. After 10 seasons, we watched Monica and Chandler pack up and head for the suburbs with their adopted twins. Ross and Rachel, finally, literally finally, reunited. Phoebe settled into her quirky married life with Mike. And Joey? Well, Joey was still in New York, chasing that acting success. Pretty much everyone got this major, life-changing conclusion. But that ending left behind a really powerful, lingering question. What actually happens next? The reason this question is still so powerful today is because this show was never really about crazy plot twists, right? It was about life itself. And life, with all its messiness and everyday mundane moments, keeps going long past a happy ending.
Which brings us to Section 2, the challenge of adulthood. Growing up.
Now, if this hypothetical 11th season had actually happened, it likely would have picked up several years after the finale, and that presents a massive narrative hurdle. I mean, think about it. For 10 seasons, the absolute magic of the show came from watching 6 young adults navigate the chaos of early careers, terrible dating experiences, and newfound independence. But jump forward to season 11 and the whole paradigm shifts. Now we're looking at mature adults with families, mortgages, heavy responsibilities, and just vastly different priorities. They aren't in that same stage of life anymore. Surprisingly, though, that exact challenge, that messy transition into full-blown adulthood that millions of viewers were experiencing right alongside them, could absolutely become the beating heart of a new season.
Moving right along to Section 3, Adult Relationships, Evolving Dynamics.
So with all these new responsibilities come completely new dynamics. The humor and the drama have to shift from the thrill of getting together to the hard, everyday work of staying together. Take Monica and Chandler, for example. They would probably be the emotional center of this new era. After moving out to the suburbs, Monica would be living her absolute dream of raising a family. But come on, anyone who knows Monica knows she cannot stay satisfied for long. She would inevitably become totally obsessed with creating the perfect suburban family life. Perfect schedules, perfect holidays, perfect parenting. Meanwhile, Chandler would be balancing work and fatherhood, using his signature humor just to survive the chaos. We'd likely get this hilarious role reversal. For the first time ever, Chandler becomes the calmer, grounding parent, while Monica completely spins out as the stressed one. Honestly, that dynamic alone is gold. And then there's Ross and Rachel. After 10 years of breakups, misunderstandings, and second chances, they finally ended up together. But let's be real relationships don't just magically become easy just because you had a great dramatic kiss in an airport. This new season could explore what we never actually got to see, Ross and Rachel functioning as a real long-term couple. They'd be raising Emma together, constantly juggling Ross's tendency to overanalyze literally everything with Rachel's fierce career ambition. So instead of asking whether they belong together, the story pivots to a totally new question. How do two people stay together after the romance settles into everyday life? It's a much more mature, incredibly relatable challenge.
We absolutely can't forget Phoebe. Her story might actually be the most surprising of the whole bunch. Throughout the original run, she was the ultimate free spirit, right? But what happens when the person who actively avoids convention suddenly becomes part of it? Marriage with Mike pushes Phoebe into totally unfamiliar territory. Maybe she starts wondering whether she actually wants children of her own. Maybe she questions whether settling down has changed who she fundamentally is. It replaces your standard, dramatic, sitcom conflict with deep, genuine personal growth. And honestly, character-driven storytelling like that was always one of the show's greatest strengths.
Section 4. Joey's Search. Finding Meaning.
Let's see how this all builds with our most unresolved character. The finale intentionally left Joey's future pretty open-ended. Unlike the others, he didn't get a neat little bow tied around his life. Just imagine Joey returning from Hollywood after years of mixed success. He's older now, definitely more experienced, but he's still hilarious and still immensely lovable. However, he's starting to wonder what truly matters. For years, Joey chased acting success and, casual dating. But now, his mature journey pivots to searching for something much deeper. Maybe a lasting relationship, maybe a family, and definitely a sense of purpose beyond just fame. Watching Joey mature without losing that spark the fans love, that could easily become the most satisfying arc in the entire series.
Section 5. Power of Imagination. Creating Futures.
Because sure, individual stories are great, but the real challenge here is the ensemble. As the creators famously put it, the title isn't couples, it isn't family, it's friends. And that right there is the overarching theme of our explainer today. How do you preserve a friendship when life pulls you in completely different directions? The writers would need a highly believable reason to keep this specific group connected. I mean, they aren't living across the hall from each other anymore. Maintaining lifelong connections despite increasingly complicated lives is a massive, very real-world challenge. The logistics of this friendship surviving would have to rely on very realistic, deliberate touchpoints. Maybe weekly dinners become their new unbreakable tradition. Maybe Central Park remains their sanctuary for a quick coffee meetup. And of course, the family events, the birthdays, the major milestones that bring everyone together. The whole dynamic would feel different. It'd be way less about hanging out aimlessly every single day and more about making the deliberate choice to show up for each other. That evolution transforms the narrative into a really beautiful story about growing older together.
But, perhaps the most profound realization is this. A true season 11 never happened because the creators understood something incredibly important. Sometimes the audience's imagination is far more powerful than any script could ever be. By leaving the story slightly unfinished in the best possible way, they basically handed the keys over to the fans. They allowed us to construct our own perfect futures for these characters. Some picture Ross and Rachel perfectly happy. Others imagine Joey finding his ultimate soulmate. Because of that, the characters continue living right alongside us.
Ultimately, whether we got to see them navigate their 40s and 50s or not, the true heart of the story remains this really comforting realization. Life is just easier when you have people who will always be there for you. It wasn't just about the apartments or the epic romances or even the jokes. It was the enduring promise of connection, no matter how much your career shifts or how much your parenting challenges completely overwhelm you. To wrap up our explainer today, I want to leave you with this final provocative question. Think about everything we just walked through. The stressed parenting, the deep personal growth, Joey's search for meaning. If this legendary show had actually gotten a season 11, what story would you have wanted to see the most? What future do you see when you look past that purple door? Keep that imagination alive, guys, and thanks so much for joining me as we explore the fascinating continuation of television's greatest friendship.